dreaming of a delicious, abundant strawberry harvest next summer, instead of waiting another year? Then forget the frantic spring planting and hoping for the best. Today, we're unveiling all the secrets of fall strawberry planting. I'll also show you a rooting technique so incredibly simple, you'll wonder why you never tried it before. Get ready, because after this, your strawberry beds will never be the same. So why fall, you ask? It's actually quite simple, and that's the beauty of it. Nature has already figured it all out for us. In spring, plants are under immense stress. They're forced to do everything at once. Establish a root system, grow their foliage, flower, and set fruit. It's an enormous burden. Fall, however, is a completely different story. Once planted, your strawberries are in no rush. They slowly but surely develop a robust root system right up until the first hard frosts, then go dormant. Come spring, they greet the warmth fully prepared, ready to channel all their energy into a magnificent harvest. All right, let's dive into our simple method step by step, and we'll kick things off with the absolute foundation, choosing the perfect time for autumn planting. You know, it's a lot like sports. Getting the right start is crucial. Plant too early, say, in the scorching August heat, and those delicate saplings will simply cook. Or, even worse, they might get confused and decide to bloom. But right now, we need strong roots, not flowers. Plant too late with only a week or two until the first frost, and the root system simply won't have enough time to establish itself. That plant will be weak and might not survive its first winter. So where's that sweet spot? There's a simple rule of thumb. Your plant needs roughly 3 to 4 weeks of mild weather before the first hard freeze hits. That's just enough time for it to develop a strong root system. Of course, there's no single universal date for everyone. If you're in the southern regions, your window is late September, stretching even into October. For temperate zones, the ideal period runs from late August to mid-September. But in colder, northern regions like the Urals and Siberia, it's best not to wait and get your planting done in August. So, the key takeaway here is, don't rely on the calendar. Instead, check the weather forecast for your specific area. As soon as the intense summer heat subsides and nights turn cool, that's your signal. Nailing this timing is the first and most crucial step towards a bountiful harvest. Now let's talk about finding that perfect sunny spot for your future strawberry patch. Strawberries, or garden strawberries if you want to be precise, are true sun worshippers. The more sunshine they soak up, the sweeter, more fragrant and plumper your berries will be. So, forget those shady corners behind the house or tucked away under apple trees. You'll want the brightest spot in your garden, one that gets a minimum of 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight every single day. Ideally, aim for a level patch of ground or a gentle, very slight slope that faces south or southwest. Why is this orientation so crucial? Because on such a slope, the soil warms up more quickly in spring, and any excess moisture from rain or melting snow drains away efficiently, preventing waterlogging. Absolutely avoid any low-lying spots. Cold air tends to pool there, dramatically increasing the risk of your plant's roots freezing in winter or rotting from excessive moisture. And here's a crucial tip from experienced gardeners. Always consider what was growing in that spot before. Your strawberries. Categorically, avoid planting strawberries where potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants were previously grown. These plants share common diseases that can linger in the soil and affect your new crop. However, if the previous residents were onions, garlic, carrots, peas, or any leafy greens, then you've found an ideal location. These crops are excellent predecessors, often improving soil health. Choosing the right location from the start is truly half the battle won. Okay, the spot is chosen. Now comes the most critical step, preparing your garden bed. I wasn't joking when I said this is like laying the foundation for a house. 90% of your success depends on it. We'll begin with a total clear out. You need to remove every single weed, especially stubborn perennials like couch grass, ground elder, and dandelions. Don't be tempted to leave any roots behind. Dig out every last one. If you leave them, Come spring, they'll turn into your strawberry plant's arch enemies, stealing precious water and nutrients. Once the bed is thoroughly clean, it's time for some deep digging. Go a full spade's depth. Our goal is to make the soil as loose and airy as a downy pillow, giving those delicate young roots an easy, comfortable space to grow. Any heavy clumps of soil absolutely must be broken up with a rake. And here's a small but very important secret that many gardeners tend to forget. After digging, the bed needs time to settle. Give it at least a week, ideally 2. If you plant your young strawberry plants in freshly dug, fluffy soil, it will naturally settle after rains and watering, dragging your plants down with it. As a result, their crown, the vital growth point, will end up buried beneath the soil, which is almost a guaranteed death sentence for the plant. So, don't rush this step. Give the soil a chance to settle properly. So, what do we feed the soil with before planting our strawberry seedlings? After all, strawberries are notoriously heavy feeders. To give them a great head start with essential nutrients for winter and spring, the soil needs to be properly enriched. But it's important to do this smartly. For every square metre of your future strawberry patch, I recommend incorporating about 1 bucket of well-rotted compost or aged manure. I emphasise well-rotted, meaning mature, resembling rich, crumbly earth, and smelling pleasantly earthy. Also add 1 cup of wood ash. This is an excellent source of potassium, which promotes sweeter berries, and phosphorus, crucial for strong root development. Wood ash also sweetens the soil slightly, which strawberries absolutely love. As a complete fertiliser, you can include 1 tablespoon of a balanced granular fertiliser. Its granules will dissolve slowly, providing sustained nutrition for the plants over an extended period. Evenly scatter all these components over the surface of your prepared bed. Then either lightly fork it in again or thoroughly rake it to ensure all the amendments are well mixed into the top layer of soil. This nutrient-rich blend will create the perfect environment for rapid root establishment and a bountiful harvest. Let's immediately debunk a very popular, yet incredibly dangerous myth. Many novice gardeners, especially those following old-school advice, are convinced that manure is the best fertiliser. They then generously apply it to their garden beds before planting. Friends, whatever you do, never use fresh manure when planting strawberries in the fall. This is one of the gravest and most damaging mistakes. Why? Firstly, as fresh organic matter decomposes, it generates an enormous amount of heat. This can literally scorch the tender young roots of your seedlings. The plant won't take root. It will simply die. Secondly, fresh manure contains high levels of aggressive ammonia, which is also toxic to roots. Thirdly, it's a perfect incubator for pest larvae, like grubs, and a breeding ground for pathogenic fungi. You won't fertilise your soil, you'll contaminate it. If fresh manure is your only option, it should have been dug into the soil in spring, ahead of a previous crop, allowing it ample time to decompose completely by autumn. Remember this simple rule. In autumn, only use fully decomposed compost or well-rotted manure. Fresh manure is our #1 enemy. Now let's talk about choosing your strawberry plants. The quality of your planting material directly impacts whether your plants will thrive and how successful your harvest will be. You essentially have 2 main options. First, you can use fresh runners from your existing fruit-bearing plants in your garden. The second option is to buy tray-grown plug plants from a nursery or garden centre. Both methods have their advantages and disadvantages. Using runners from your own plants is, of course, free, and you're guaranteed to know the exact variety. However, there's a risk of transferring diseases and pests from your existing patch to your new one. What's more, the runners themselves can often vary in quality. Plug plants, on the other hand, are typically healthy, vigorous plants with a well-developed, self-contained root system. These young plants experience minimal transplant shock and establish themselves with almost 100% success rate. But naturally they cost money, and there's always a slight risk of receiving a different variety than what's stated on the label. So which option should you choose? If you're confident in the health of your existing plants and they've consistently produced excellent yields, then go ahead and use their runners. However, If your strawberries have been struggling with disease, or if you're looking to introduce new varieties, it's safer not to take chances. Invest in high-quality plug plants from a reputable source. It's an investment that will almost certainly pay off. If you've decided to propagate new strawberry plants using runners from your existing bushes, there's a small but crucial secret to preparing them correctly. Don't simply detach a rosette from the mother plant and immediately move it to a new bed. This causes immense stress to the young plant. The best approach is to prepare them beforehand. Select the strongest, healthiest strawberry plants, ideally those that are 2 to 3 years old, as they produce the most vigorous runners. Focus on the first or second order rosettes. These are the ones growing closest to the mother plant. Once a rosette begins to develop its own tiny roots, take a small pot or cup, fill it with light, well-draining soil, and simply peg or pin the rosette down onto the soil surface in that container, without cutting it from the mother plant. This technique allows the young plant to develop a robust root system of its own, all while still receiving vital nutrients from the mother plant. After a couple of weeks, you'll see a strong, established root ball in the pot. At this point, you can safely snip the runner. You'll then have a young plant with a well-developed intact root ball, ready to be transplanted absolutely stress-free. This simple technique significantly boosts the plant's chances of survival and gives your new strawberries a robust start. When you're buying ready-to-plant seedlings, especially from independent sellers at a market, it's crucial to be really vigilant to avoid getting scammed. I'll show you exactly what to look for to pick out truly high-quality plants. First off, check the leaves. There should be at least 3 or 4 of them. They should be a healthy, vibrant green colour, completely free of any spots, holes, or powdery residue. Pale, yellowish, or misshapen leaves are a clear red flag, indicating disease or a lack of nutrients. Secondly, pay close attention to the heart. This is the central growth point from which the new leaves emerge. It should be firm, plump, and green, at least 7 millimeters thick. If the heart looks thin and weak, that seedling isn't likely to develop into a robust, healthy plant. And finally, the most crucial element, the roots. If you're looking at cell-packed seedlings or plugs, the soil ball should be completely interwoven with healthy, white roots. If you gently slide a seedling out of its cell, the root ball should remain intact and not fall apart. If you're buying bare root seedlings, the root system should be lush, light-coloured, and at least 5 to 7 centimetres long. There should be absolutely no dark, dry, or mushy, rotten roots whatsoever. Don't hesitate to thoroughly inspect each and every seedling. It's far better to take an extra 5 minutes to choose wisely than to regret wasted money and effort later on. All right, our garden bed is perfectly prepped, and we've got the best seedlings ready to go. Now for the most rewarding step, planting. You might think, what could be easier? Just dig a hole, pop in a plant and cover it up. But, as the saying goes, the devil is in the details. Getting this right is crucial. It dictates how quickly your strawberries establish themselves and whether they'll make it through that first winter. It's best to plant on a cloudy day, or in the late afternoon or early evening when the sun isn't as harsh. This simple tip significantly reduces stress on the young plants. Before you even think about digging holes, take a moment to thoroughly smooth out the garden bed with a rake. We want that planting area to be perfectly flat. To keep your rows nice and straight, I suggest using a simple marker or stretching a string. Straight rows aren't just aesthetically pleasing, they make subsequent weeding, maintenance and harvesting so much more efficient. Don't rush this process. Take your time and handle each seedling with care and affection. Because we're not just planting, we're establishing the foundation for our future berry haven. Each correctly planted seedling is a promise of an abundant harvest of juicy, sweet berries next summer. But before your seedling settles into its new home, there's one crucial step many gardeners skip, and they shouldn't. This is root soaking, designed to give your plants a powerful head start. It's particularly important for bare root plants, which can dry out considerably during shipping and storage. Even just 30 minutes exposed to the air can severely damage those tiny, delicate feeder roots. To revive them and give them a strong impulse for vigorous growth, we'll prepare a special solution. The simplest and most effective option is to use root stimulators such as products like Cornavin or heteroauxin. Simply dissolve the powder in water according to the package directions and then submerge your seedling roots for 1 to 2 hours. If you don't have these commercial root stimulators on hand, don't worry, you can use some simple home remedies. For instance, a honey solution works wonders. Simply mix 1 teaspoon of honey per litre of water. Honey is packed with beneficial compounds that also encourage strong root development. This soaking process thoroughly hydrates and revitalizes the roots, helping the plant adapt much faster to its new environment. For cell pack or container-grown seedlings with an intact root ball, extensive soaking isn't necessary. Simply give the root ball in its pot a good drenching with water containing Cornavin solution about an hour before planting. This straightforward step is your best insurance against plant loss and guarantees excellent establishment. With the roots prepped, it's time to dig the planting holes. Here too, the right size and spacing are crucial. Avoid digging enormous holes, but overly small ones are also problematic. The ideal hole should be large enough for the seedling's root system to spread out freely without bending or crowding. Typically this means a depth and width of about 20 to 25 centimetres. This ensures the roots are well placed in loose, fertile soil. Next, let's discuss the planting pattern. Many options exist, but I recommend the simplest and most proven method: single row planting. With this method, space your rows 60 to 70 centimetres apart. This wide spacing provides excellent air circulation for the bushes as they grow, which is key to preventing fungal diseases. It also makes it very easy to walk between the rows, tend to your plants, and harvest your berries. Within each row, space the individual plants about 30 centimetres apart. Don't be tempted to plant them any closer. Initially, the bed might seem to have a lot of empty space, but trust me, by next summer, these plants will have filled in considerably and will need that space. Overly dense planting leads directly to smaller berries and a higher risk of disease spread. Following these simple spacing guidelines is the key to a healthy, productive plantation for years to come. Now let's talk about one of the most common and potentially devastating mistakes beginners make: incorrect planting depth. I've personally seen hundreds of gardens where half the plants failed for this very reason. There are two extremes to this, and both are equally detrimental. The first extreme is planting too deep. This happens when the gardener buries the plant too deeply, causing its central growing point, often referred to as the crown or heart, to be covered with soil. When this happens, the crown begins to rot, particularly in damp conditions, and the plant simply withers and dies. It might struggle along for a while, but you'll never see healthy growth, or more importantly, any harvest from it. The second extreme is planting too shallow or high planting. This is when the crown, conversely, is left too high above the soil, exposing the upper part of its root system. Exposed roots quickly dry out in the sun and wind, and in winter, they're the first part of the plant to suffer from frost damage. Consequently, the plant struggles to establish, becomes more susceptible to disease, and may also die. It might seem like a minor detail, just an inch too high or too low, but for a strawberry plant, it's truly a matter of life and death. So right now, we're going to break down one simple rule that will help you avoid this critical error once and for all. To ensure your strawberry plants thrive, remember this one simple rule. First, locate the crown of your strawberry plant. This is the central growing point, the bud from which new leaves emerge. The key is to plant your strawberry so its crown sits precisely at soil level, never too high, never too low. How do you get it just right? It's easier than you think. Once you've dug your planting hole, create a small mound of soil in the centre. Gently place your strawberry plant on top of this mound, carefully fanning its roots outwards and downwards, much like a skirt. Ensure the very base of the crown is perfectly aligned with the surrounding soil level. Once positioned, carefully backfill the hole with soil, gently firming it around the roots to eliminate any air pockets. Once the hole is fully filled, double-check the crown's position. It should be just visible, peeking out of the soil, not buried too deep, and not exposed too high. This easy mound technique prevents your plants from being planted incorrectly and helps you consistently achieve the ideal planting depth. Practice this technique with a couple of plants, and you'll quickly get the hang of it. Once your plant is settled in its hole and the soil around it gently firmed, the next crucial step is proper watering. And there's a specific technique to this. Don't simply douse the leaves from above with a strong stream from your watering can. This can wash away the soil around the roots, potentially exposing them. The correct method after planting is a gentle yet thorough soaking of the root zone. Each young plant should receive at least half a litre, and ideally a full litre, of warm, standing water. Water slowly, directly at the base of the plant. This ensures the water soaks deeply into the soil, rather than running off, effectively displacing any air pockets and promoting optimal root-to-soil contact. This is crucial for rapid establishment. Once the water has fully absorbed, you might notice the soil has settled slightly. If this happens, gently add a small amount of dry soil or compost around the base of the plant. This technique, sometimes playfully called dry watering, creates a thin mulching layer. This layer prevents a hard crust from forming on the soil surface and helps retain moisture much longer. During the first week after planting, closely monitor the moisture level of your garden bed. If the weather is dry, water your young plants every 2 to 3 days. Our seedlings are planted and watered, but the work isn't quite finished yet. Now we need to ensure they have a peaceful and comfortable winter, and the best way to achieve this is through mulching. Many gardeners, especially beginners, often view mulching as an optional extra, perhaps even an unnecessary chore. However, for fall-planted strawberries, it's not a luxury. It's an absolute necessity. So, what exactly does mulch do? First, it acts as a vital shield for the root system against sudden temperature fluctuations. Beneath a layer of mulch, the soil freezes more slowly and less deeply. And come spring, those unpredictable thaws, followed by sudden frosts, won't be as damaging. This protection is crucial for young, tender roots that are still establishing themselves. Secondly, mulch is excellent at retaining soil moisture, meaning you'll need to water less frequently. Thirdly, it suppresses weed growth, preventing unwelcome plants from emerging, even during mild autumn spells. And finally, as organic mulch slowly decomposes, it enriches the soil, providing a valuable and continuous source of nutrients for your plants. So, by mulching your strawberry bed in the fall, you tackle several challenges at once and set your plants up for a successful, thriving winter. When planting strawberries in the fall, what's the best mulch to use? While many options exist, not all are equally effective. Fresh straw, for example, is a definite no-go. Mice love to nest in it during winter, and while they're at it, they'll happily munch on the delicate crowns of your young strawberry plants. Fresh sawdust isn't ideal either. It absorbs a lot of moisture, can freeze solid into an icy crust, and may even acidify your soil. The perfect fall mulch is loose, airy, and won't compact. My personal favourite is conifer needles like fallen pine or spruce needles from the forest floor. They offer excellent frost protection, allow for good air circulation, help prevent grey mould, and even deter some pests. Well-rotted compost or peat moss are also excellent choices. Not only do they insulate the roots, but they also provide an extra boost of nutrients. Dry fallen leaves can also work, but only use them from healthy, disease-free trees like birch or maple. Aim for a mulch layer of about 2 to 3 inches, 5 to 7 centimetres. Apply it around the base of the plants, being careful not to bury the central crown. It's best to mulch not immediately after planting, but rather closer to when consistent frosts begin, once the top layer of soil has just started to freeze. What should you do if your fall-planted strawberries suddenly decide to bloom? This sometimes happens, especially if the autumn has been long and mild. The plant gets confused by the season, thinking it's time to produce fruit. Don't panic. It's not a major issue, but it does require your intervention. While a flower on a young plant might be a pretty sight, it's absolutely not what we want right now. All the plant's energy should be focused on one goal: developing a strong root system to successfully overwinter. Flowering, and especially setting fruit, is a huge drain on the plant's energy, which will significantly weaken the young plant before winter. So as difficult as it might be, you must ruthlessly remove any flower stalks that appear. Simply pinch them off gently at their base as soon as you spot them. Don't let them fully open. By performing this simple task, you'll redirect the plant's energy from this unproductive flowering towards the much more crucial process of establishing its roots. And come spring, that very same plant will thank you with much more vigorous and abundant flowering, which will then lead to a truly bountiful harvest. Another age-old debate among gardeners. Should you prune the leaves from the young saplings before winter? The internet is full of conflicting advice on this. Some insist on removing all foliage, arguing it prevents the plant from wasting energy. Others strongly advise against touching them whatsoever. Let's get to the bottom of this. As is often the case, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Completely stripping all the leaves from newly planted autumn saplings is a significant mistake. Leaves are essentially the plant's food factory. Through photosynthesis, they produce and store sugars and vital nutrients. These reserves then transfer to the root system, providing the energy the plant needs to survive winter. By stripping a sapling of all its leaves, you effectively deprive it of these crucial winter reserves and severely weaken it. What's more, a healthy canopy of leaves also provides a natural layer of insulation, protecting the plant's delicate crown from harsh frosts. So, what's the right approach? A thorough inspection is key. If you spot any diseased, dry, damaged, or spotted leaves, those should of course be carefully removed right at their base. However, all healthy, green leaves must be left intact. They will continue to work diligently until the first hard frosts, contributing to the plant's health and your future harvest. Remember this golden rule. In autumn, for young shrubs, we perform only sanitary pruning, not a complete defoliation. Let's debunk the biggest fear holding many back from autumn planting, the idea that young plants won't survive the winter frost. This couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, a strawberry plant properly established in the fall is much better equipped for winter than you might think. Firstly, as we've mentioned before, it has a full month, or even longer, to develop a robust root system and firmly anchor itself in the soil. This strong root development is the key to successful overwintering. Secondly, nature itself provides excellent protection. Snow acts as the best and most reliable blanket for strawberries. Even a modest snow layer of just 20–30 centimetres can shield plants from temperatures as low as 30 degrees Celsius. Under this natural blanket, soil level temperatures rarely drop below 5 to 7 degrees Celsius, which is perfectly safe for strawberry plants. Problems might only arise during black winters, those without snow cover, when severe frosts hit bare ground. However, even then, proper mulching, which we've discussed, comes to the rescue. So, there's no need to worry. If you follow all the right steps, choose the optimal time, prepare your beds, and mulch your plants, your strawberries will overwinter beautifully and be among the first to thrive in spring. And for our final tip today, which ties directly into what we just discussed, while it's natural to want to protect your young strawberry plants from frost, be careful not to overdo the winter covering. Some gardeners are so afraid of their strawberries freezing that they inadvertently create a death trap for them. They bury their beds under thick layers of straw, then add multiple layers of garden fabric, and often a sheet of plastic on top. This is a big mistake and should be avoided at all costs. Why? Because for strawberries, the real danger in winter isn't primarily the frost, but rather what's known as damping off, or smothering, due to excessive moisture. Beneath such heavy, airtight covers, moisture gets trapped during winter or early spring thaws. This creates a greenhouse effect. The strawberry crowns and roots begin to rot, leading to fungal diseases like grey mould. Ultimately, by spring, you risk finding nothing but a soggy, rotten mess instead of healthy plants. Remember this, the best winter protection is snow. Our main goal is simply to help that snow accumulate and stay on your strawberry beds. To do this, you can lay down evergreen boughs or simply use branches left over from pruning trees. These will act as natural snow fences, helping to trap the snow. Extra protection with non-woven fabric might only be necessary in regions with extremely harsh and snowless winters. Even then, the covering must be light and breathable. Here's the crucial insight many gardeners overlook. The secret to successful fall planting isn't about magic fertilizers or complex agricultural techniques. The real secret is that we simply get out of nature's way. An autumn-planted strawberry is like a smart athlete. It spends all fall and winter in strength training, building up its muscles, its roots. A spring-planted one, however, is like a tired racehorse, expected to immediately run a marathon and pull a heavy load. It's this winter period of dormancy and root establishment that gives fall plantings a tremendous head start. By spring, you don't have a weak seedling in your garden bed, but a fully developed, strong plant, ready to flower and bear fruit. That's why the following year's harvest from fall planting is always more abundant and of higher quality. So, planting strawberries in the fall isn't just an alternative. It's a truly smart and easy way to get guaranteed results. You give the plant time, and it thanks you with a generous harvest. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful and informative, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other gardening tricks and tips. Now for a question for you. Do you plant your strawberries in the fall, or do you still prefer traditional spring planting? Share your experiences and opinions in the comments below, and let's discuss.